So obviously loads of us look at the internet a lot to find inspiration for juggling, look for new patterns and tricks that people do. But I found over time that my favourite points where my juggling's changed have been through an encounter with somebody. And sometimes it's a chance encounter with somebody you don't even know who they are. Other times it's an encounter with somebody who you look up to and you respect, and you listen particularly carefully maybe to what they say because of their views on juggling or whatever, which maybe changes the way you think about what you do. I've had fantastic conversations about practice with John Nations, for example, who's a really good American juggler, really great with the patterns and everything like that, and it's really great to have an enthusiastic practicing person obviously talk about nature of practice and what to look for in practice and all that kind of thing. Maybe changes the way you look at the way you do your practicing or how you stand or whatever. One of the things that changed the way I looked at, or two things really that changed the way I looked at juggling with three balls and playing with tricks and things, and I can't even remember now who showed me this, and it's terrible, I can't remember, but I can remember taking it away and realising fairly soon just how incredible that was. This is before I knew anything about side swap or anything. I just realised that I bought extra time on each side because of that extra throw on one side. It seemed like an obvious thing, but suddenly all these kind of crazy tricks became possible, and the understanding of timing that I'd never been able to get before, all because of just that one little trick. And the other thing that's changed the nature of the way I juggle in the last few years for me, and it's made it a lot more fun, just one thing that triggered a whole different way of thinking, was instead of starting in the usual way, just picking up the balls and throwing two in one hand and going into your normal cascade and throw, is to just begin in a different way. And I got this from a workshop with Jay Gillingham and Wes Peden, who, talking about creative juggling are the best, although they would argue whether they're creative or not. I think they're awesomely creative. And it was just starting the juggling in a different way, throwing one up, then throwing a pair up, and then seeing what happens. And even now, even though I've been doing it for a few years, I still quite often find that is a one that I've got. That was a totally different thing I never normally do. That one is something that I'm doing one up, pair up, switch that one over there, and that's like a habitual thing for me. So that's a different way of starting, and that may give rise to another way of starting. But it's 1, 2, and then do something else. 1, 2, and then maybe coming over the top, whatever. There's a myriad of different ways of going into it, or throwing 2 and then 1, 2 and then 1, 2 and then, I don't know, want to change however you do it, but just that 1, 2 or 2, 1 and switching your arm as a beginning thing will just infect the way that you do other things, and probably bring a dynamic of stopping and starting into your routine if you don't already have that. Quite a nice thing to just stop whatever you're doing and then it all starts up again, however it does, with this little signature move. Massive change for me. Anyway, those little ideas are quite often the things that change more than anything big or training, but just like a trigger, and that can give rise to a whole new way in which you approach things. Always magic. So, listen, and also you can go from somebody who's right at the beginning, who's just started juggling. They may have an idea that you haven't had, and they do it, and you've been doing it years and years. You suddenly go, oh, I never thought of that. So it isn't just people who've been juggling years and years who have the ideas. It's sometimes people, they bring an innocence to it that somebody who's been juggling for years can't even kind of imagine or relate to anymore, and they do something and you go, oh yeah, that's a great way in whatever. So yeah, really just be alert to what's possible to change the way in which you do things creatively, and it'll help, and it makes practicing much easier and more fun if you're just alert to that as much as possible.